Hi guys, my name is Stephanie and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back, and if you're new here, you're welcome. Please consider subscribing to join this family. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to cut and sew this two-step frilly gown, and I also have this 2.5 yard of flower fabric that I'll be making use of. And because the fabric is transparent, I'll be using lining to line it at the upper side. You see how transparent the fabric is, and I also have other materials here, so keep watching. So the first thing I did was to fold the fabric into 4, the front piece and the 2 back pieces, and then I'm just drawing this straight line at the upper side, which will serve as my starting point. And the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to be dividing her shoulder measurement is 15 inches divided by 2 is 7.5. So I'm placing it starting from that front piece, not the back piece, because the back piece is having 1.5 inch extra zip allowance. So I'm starting from the front folding, just the same way you see in this video, and then I'm going down by 1 inch for shoulder slope. So guys, for the neck width, I'm making use of 3.5 inches. Starting from that front folding, I'll mark 3.5 inches, and then I'm marking the depth of 4 inches. That's for the front neck depth. I'll mark the 4 inches right there, and then I'll go ahead and connect it. So you see I have 3.5 inches right there, starting from the front folding, and then I went down by 4 inches. So I'll go ahead and connect it just the same way you see in this video. So for the back neck depth, I'm going down by 1.5 inch. I'll go ahead and mark the 1.5 inch, and then I'll connect it all the way to this other side. Starting from the 1.5 inch that I left for zip allowance, so I went down by 1 inch for shoulder slope. I'll use my ruler and then slant it just the same way you see. And then I'm dividing her shoulder by 2, which I'll be using for the armhole. I'll mark it right there, and then I'll connect it with a ruler to the upper side as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to be dividing her armhole by 2, and then I'll place it right there and mark the midpoint, go in by 0.5 inch, because I'll be carving the armhole when I'm done inserting her measurements. So guys, the next measurement I'll be taking is the full length of the gown, and the full length of the gown I'm making use of is 40 inches. It's actually going to be a short gown, and I'll be minusing inches from the downside, which I'll be completing with a gathers. So I'm making use of 41 inches, and I'll be adding 1 inch for sewing allowance, 0.5 inch at the upper side and then 0.5 inch at the downside. So I'm marking 32 inches because you want her own to be a bit longer, so it's not going to be as short as the one in the picture. So the piece that is going to form the gathers is going to be about 9 inches long to complete to the 40 inches. So I'll go ahead and connect a straight line from the full length to this other side. So the next measurement I'll be taking is her bust measurement. Her bust is 37. I'll divide it by 4, and then I'll mark it right there, and then I'll add extra 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead and connect the point right there. And the next measurement I'll be taking is her hip point. From the shoulder to her hip point, I'll mark it right there. It's about 24 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark the 24 inches and then connect it with a ruler. And I also mark from her shoulder to her waistline, which is also her half length. I'll mark from the shoulder to the half length and also connect it with a ruler, just the same way you see me doing in this video. And the next thing I will do is to be carving her armhole now. Starting from her measurement, her bust divided by 4, the first measurement that I marked, I'll actually connect it all the way to the 1.5 inch that I marked at the midpoint, and then to the upper side. And then her round waist measurement, I'll divide it by 4. I'll divide her waist measurement by 4. Her waist is 33 inches. I'll divide it by 4 and then mark the measurements right there, and then I'll add 1.5 inch for sewing allowance as well. And then for the downside of the dress, I'll be dividing her hip measurement. I'll minus 1 inch from it. You can actually minus 1 or 2 inches depending on how tight you want it to be at the downside. So I minus 1 inch and then add 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. So the next thing to do is for me to connect all the points together, starting from the bust point, from this chest line to the waistline, and then to the hip point, and then I'll connect it to the downside. So after connecting all the points together, the next thing is for me to cut out everything now, following the marked lines. So guys, for this neckline, I actually cut the back neckline first because you don't want to cut both the front and the back together. And also enter to notch from this zip allowance so that I will know where to start, and then I'll open it up and then cut the front neck depth. And the next thing I'm going to do is to be cutting lining for both the front and the back piece. I'll cut the lining and then I'll be turning it with the lining. So I've gone ahead to cut the 2 lining pieces for the back and then 1 piece for the front, and I'll place it with the right sides facing like this, and then I'll go ahead and turn the neckline and then the zip side. I'll do the same thing to this other side as well, and also the front piece. I'll just place the lining on the right side of the fabric. I'll place it like this and sew the neckline and also the sides as well. So guys, I'm actually done doing that. As you can see, I'm done turning the neckline and also the sides as well, and I've also gone ahead to iron it so that it stays in place. I also did the same thing to the 2 back pieces as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be placing the right sides of the back pieces facing each other just the same way you see like this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be bringing my zip. I'll place it just the same way you see like this, and then I'll mark where the zip is actually going to end, just slightly above the end of the zip, because I'm going to fix it as an invisible zip. So I'll mark the 1.5 inch that I left for the zip allowance. I'll be sewing from that side downward when I'm actually done fixing the gathers, but for now I'll actually make a loose stitch from the upper side and then I'll stop to where I actually mark. So after sewing it with a loose stitch, I'll actually place it with the right sides facing each other just the same way you see like this. I'll place the back on the front and then I'll place it, the shoulder lines, I'll open it up like that, and then I will sew, and then I'll do the same thing to this other side as well. So guys, I'm actually done doing that. I'm done joining the shoulder lines just the same way you see. So I'll flip it over and place it with the right sides facing each other. The 1.5 inch that I left for sewing allowance, I'll actually take it to my sewing machine and then sew it all the way to the downside. I'll repeat this same process to this other side as well. So guys, I'm actually done doing that. I'm done sewing the sides and also turn it over to this other side. So this is how it's actually looking. So guys, the next thing I'm going to be doing is to be working on this piece that I'll be using for the gathers at the downside. So for now I have about 10 inches right here, but it was about 10.5 inches. I use half an inch to fold it all the way around at the downside, and then by the time I hold 1 inch at the upper side, I will make the gathers and then hold 1 inch, and then it will be exactly 9 inches, which will complete to make it the 14 inches. And that is actually for the width. So I've gone ahead to join it so that it will be a bit longer to make the gathers full. So if you don't want it to be full, you reduce like the length of the piece. So for the length of this one, I have about 3 yards and 26.5 inches. And I've also gone ahead to cut this piece that is going to form the second piece that will be at the upper side, and it's about 5.5 inches. So the half an inch is going to be for sewing allowance. I've already folded it at the downside. It was 6 inches. I folded half an inch at the downside, and then I'm using half an inch to sew at the upper side, so it will complete to 5 inches. So guys, I've also gone ahead to run a loose stitch at the upper side, which I'll be drawing to form the gathers. So I'll actually draw it to form the gathers. I'll do the same thing to the first piece as well. So guys, I've actually gone ahead to do that. This is the first piece that I have here, and then the second piece. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be measuring the round of the gown, the downside of the gown. I'll measure it to know the length that will be adjusting the downside to be. So guys, I've gone ahead to do that, and then I have about 47 inches right here. So I'll be adjusting these gathers to be 47 inches for the two of them as well. As you can see, this one is way shorter, so I'll be adjusting it to be 47 inches. So I've actually gone ahead to do that, and I also went ahead to sew the upper side with the downside to hold them together, just the same way you see in this video. And the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to be folding this into two to mark the midpoint. I've gone ahead to fold it into two, so I'll mark the midpoint with my chalk. I'll actually mark it from this right side, the right side of the fabric. And I'll also fold the gown as well and mark the midpoint. I'll open it up just the same way you see, like this, and then I'll be placing these gathers from the midpoint. I'll place the midpoint with the right sides facing each other, and then I'll take it to my sewing machine and then sew it to this other side. I'll sew it all the way around and complete to this zip side as well, and I'll also be repeating the same process with this other side. So guys, I'm actually done doing that. I'm done joining the gathers on the dress, as you can see. So this is how everything looks like right now. And I've also gone ahead to fix the zip on the dress. I've gone ahead to fix the zip. I've actually fixed it as an invisible zip. So for the downside, I'll actually place it with the right side, and then I'll sew it and complete the downside. But before I do that, I did not weave this dress. I actually turn the sides, so I'll be turning it with a piece all the way around so that it will give it a neat finishing. And then for this sleeve, I'll actually be fixing the sleeve right now. I've also gone ahead to cut the sleeve already. I'll fold the downside and then sew it and then join it to the dress. So guys, I'm actually done doing that. As you can see, I'm done joining the sleeve also on the dress, and then the downside as well. I'm done joining the downside, and everything is now ready. So guys, this is the final look of the dress. So the last thing I'll be doing on it is just to iron it. I'll neatly iron it, and then this is actually the end result of the gown. This is the final result of the gown. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you are still here, please don't forget to subscribe and like this video as well. See you guys in my next video. Bye.